We've got a Mercedes E250 CGI with gearbox and shift problems. Notice straight away that there is a leak underneath here. We obviously need to have a look at where this is leaking from. We think it may be the sump pan, but we're also seeing this connector plug here. We're going to open up the socket and just have a look if oil is coming through the socket. We may be having a look to change the conductor plate later on in the video, as well as removing the valve block, how to put that back properly, and change the filter. But we'll come to that as we go through. The thing we've done is remove the small plate that covers this plug. This circular portion here is pulled down to remove this socket here, the EGS socket. There's not a lot of oil in there. I've seen these come out absolutely doused in oil. So no oil appears to be passing through the socket and confusing the signals that are being sent and received from the plug. However, we do need to open it up to look inside and have a look at what's going on. So now we're just going to open the drain plug, catch the oil from the gearbox in a clean container. We won't be reintroducing it, but we will be able to check it to see if there's any swarf or metal filings from the gearbox in there or anything of concern. We're just draining off the oil. We'll be having a look in our container to see the condition of the oil. We can see it's filthy. We'll see if there's any metal filings in there and report later on. Okay, with the oil drained from the gearbox, or what we can get out when it's reduced to a drip, we're going to open these 6 Torx bolts here, and we're going to lower the sump pan and we'll be able to take a look inside. You will remove, we'll have these little kind of collars on there to hold the sump pan. So once you've removed those, the sump pan will drop. Okay, so once the sump's dropped off, it will reveal the gearbox filter and the valve block. This is what we'll be lowering, and behind it we'll be able to see the conductor plate, which we will show you later on in the video. Okay, I've just wiped over the area with a cloth so that there's a little less dripping. Now we're going to remove the gearbox filter, which is this. It's just a very simple pull-off action. Give it a wiggle. It's just held in with a rubber seal. I've already just removed it, so I'll put it back to take the video. When you do pull it out, it will chuck out a bit more oil, so do have something to catch it below. On first inspection inside the sump pan, you'll see there's a lot of metal filings there, which isn't a good sign. This is a magnet here, and you can see that it's built up with a lot of sludge on it, which will all be metal, which once I give it a little clean later on, we'll capture that metal and show you. Okay, so we're going to start by opening the bolts that hold the valve body or valve block to the gearbox. There you'll see there's this one here we need to open. We're just going to start by loosening them all, but not removing them. Leave a couple of bolts still attached. As you loosen all the others and pull them out, it will drip a lot more oil, so it's best to just let that sort of drip off rather than make a mess everywhere. All the bolts that hold it in are the same size except this one, which is the smallest of them all. Once you take this bolt out, this plate can be removed and put to one side. So here's all our bolts and the little one that goes with that. So before you can completely lower the valve body, as you know, the EGS socket comes through here. This is the outer section of the EGS socket. In the middle of this, I believe it's an 8mm nut. I'll stand corrected if it's not. Need to unscrew from the side here, from the center of this socket, and pull this section of the socket out, which will have 1 or 2 rubber seals on it. Once this part is removed out of the box and comes down, we'll show you that. But that is kind of interlocked into the conductor plate at the top here. So once we remove that out, that should allow everything to come down. Here's a quick view of the conductor plate. This is a brand new one that's going to be going into the vehicle. This is obviously what transmits all the electric signals. We've also got here an EGS socket. So the EGS socket that we're removing at the moment, the 8mm, goes on the outside exterior of the gearbox housing, and the casing sort of goes in between here. So obviously you need to remove this portion in order to lower this down, because the valve body will be attached on the underside. So we'll take that down now and we'll get a look at that as well. So we're just here now, and this is a EGS socket. So we've taken the 8mm screw from inside it, and now as we give it a wiggle, it will break free and come out. There's the 8mm screw inside. There's a socket with the seals, and obviously when those seals fail internally or here, the oil starts to make its way into the harness, which is this here. We've managed to get it just in time, as it wasn't terribly oily. I've seen a lot worse, but now this is out the way and not kind of locking the conductor plate to the casing, we can now lower the valve body with the conductor plate. So here it is, it's been dropped out of the vehicle, all the bolts have been loosened, dropped down. Here's our conductor plate attached to our valve body. So now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove these sort of spring clips that hold in the various different valves, etc. And they must go back in the same place. There's also seals on, I believe, 4 of these. 2 of them don't have seals. I'm not sure which ones just yet, but they need to be removed, taken out. And once they're taken out, we can separate this from the valve body and replace it with our new one. So as we can see, these 2 valves have been removed from these 2 ports. As with the bolt and the spring clip, they are separable. We've just put them like that. If you look closely on these, they've got little contacts for them, which are all, the signalling's all done via this plate. So now we've taken out all of them. Ensure you've got them separated so you know which ones go where. Keep everything in the same place, and then you'll be able to remove this portion and put your new one on. So carefully wiggle this free, and you'll be able to remove this portion, which is obviously the old portion. We'll give that a good inspection later. Okay, so we've put them all back into their correct places. We've hand tightened these. We're going to now torque them all up, and then we'll be ready for reinstall. The valve body's back on with the conductor plate, with the inner mouthpiece poking through there. We've got to fit our new EGS socket on here. These have all been torqued up. Please work from the center outwards. This little plate's been put back on now. So we're going to have a new gasket. Don't forget, we're going to put a new filter in as well. And then we should be good to go and give the gearbox a fill with fresh oil. As part of the new kit, we've got a new gearbox filter, which we'll be fitting in. We've got the new bolts that go with the little clips for holding the sump on. We've got a new sump pan gasket, and we've got a new sump plug and washer. Also, in some kits, you will get this clip, which is to replace on the dipstick, because it's a one-use clip, so you will have broken it off at some point to maybe check the gearbox oil level. So when you're finished and the oil is all good, you replace this clip. This here is a magnet that will have caught, I don't know if you can see, almost like hair on it. And that's metallic fibers that have been collected. And you can see how deep, if I just draw a ridge in it, how deep those metal filings are. Now, it is quite normal to find some in a gearbox. However, I'm very concerned this is a little more than what I expect to be around that magnet. And as I clean it, it's a very grey, greasy, metallic kind of sludge that's built up on there, which is all magnetic fibers that have been collected to try and save them from going around the gearbox and causing any harm. So we're going to give this a good clean, introduce a new gasket, new filter, new bolts, put it back together, new oil, and we'll take it from there. You can see here now the sump has all been nicely cleaned, any debris has been removed. We actually took the magnet out, you can remove it, giving it a good clean, placed it back onto the base of the sump. Everything's been cleaned, the gasket's been introduced, ready to put it back on the vehicle. All we need to do now, we're going to change the sump plug before we put it on with a new washer. So I'll just do that quickly, and we'll be fitting the new filter, and then we'll reintroduce the sump with the bolts and the clips that hold it on. Here's our new gearbox filter, which we need to put back in place in its little hole. So we're going to plug the new filter in, the sump's all ready, and we're going to bolt it back together and reintroduce some fresh oil. When replacing the filter, there's a little tab on there that goes in a little slot. You must make sure that goes in the slot, and it should sit nice and flat. If it's looking like it's tilted slightly, obviously that way, then it means that your locator hasn't found its groove, so make sure you find that. So when doing the EGS socket, you must line up those pins. So let's see if I can get a bit better view of it. There we go. So when introducing it, be careful not to push back on that. It must line up. So take a look at the pattern and have a good feel as you slide in the new socket, so as not to damage anything on that conductor plate socket. Best view is from here all the way through there. Okay, so there's our new EGS socket with all the pins showing through. And now we're going to just clean this plug, reintroduce this, pop the new plug in, and we'll put the sump pan back on with the new bolts. Okay, so this is the dipstick for the gearbox. There will be a little red tab in there that you've got to break out, as I showed you earlier, and you can replace that. Remove this cap, And using diagnostic software, connect to the TCM, read the gearbox temperature. Obviously we know we've got to introduce some oil first, so we're going to introduce, I think the capacity is 7, but we're going to introduce about 4.5, 5, which you have to pump in through the dipstick guide here and let it fill up. And then based on, you have a separate dipstick which you can use to dip in there to check the levels. Most dipsticks will have like a ambient sort of 20-25 degree temperature marking and an 80-degree temperature marking, which I shall show you shortly. And then we can also connect the diagnostic software to do an actual reading of the temperature inside the gearbox. It's important that you check the level at the correct temperature because gearbox oil is expansive, or gearbox fluid, and it will vary on level based on the temperature. Once you've filled it up, simple thing, start the engine, run through all the gears, try and stay in each gear for sort of 10 to 15 seconds to allow the oil to fill up all the galleries, and then obviously once again recheck the gearbox oil once the vehicle's run to make sure that it doesn't need a top up. Okay guys, this is a dipstick we use to measure it. It won't go all the way in, it's designed for different applications, but essentially at 25 degrees Celsius it should be in this lower section of the dipstick, and as the gearbox oil, the same level will warm up and it will show this at around 80 degrees Celsius.